So, welcome to this new stream. It's called AON. You'll find out what that means as the stream goes on, particularly if you stay to the end and you watch the final video. I'm going to upset some people here. I really am, and even some of my friends. But at the end of the day, the community I'm from, we all have our own opinions. I give my opinions in this and the reason I feel the way I do about these people. So, I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you to all my guests as well. I had Cyrus, Jax, Kyle, Mikey, Raff, and Tim. And their opinions were, well, they were their opinions. Their opinions, when I bring people onto this, I really don't give a crap whether people agree with me or not. That's not the point of this. The group I'm from, we all have different opinions. We all have different experiences. We all have different attitudes. We all have different backgrounds. And we all have different skill sets. Some of us are good at one thing. Some of us are better at another thing. So, without further ado, I guess I'll bring on the first guest. Before I do, I'd like to say thank you to all my mods that will be around. And thank you especially to everybody that comes in, watches this. And if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If you don't, you don't. Let me know in the chat afterwards. Please like, subscribe to my channel. And if you don't like it, dislike it. Just give me a fair critical comment. If you come on and troll me, I'll deal with you accordingly. Anyway, enjoy the stream. Hey, hey! Well, I'd like to welcome on board Raff. Raff,
Yo, what's up, guys?
would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yo, what's up? I'm Raff. I'm from Austria, and yeah, I'm with this channel and other channels since a few years, and I've been debunking videos with them. Yeah.
You have your own YouTube channel, don't you?
Yes, but it's not really. It's just for gaming stuff and some other stuff, and it's not really updated.
Okie doke. Well, if Raff wants me to afterwards, I'll put descriptions for his YouTube gaming channel in the description down below. Right, so let's get right on with this. Right, so one question, Raff, and this is something I've asked all the guys, and I want everybody's different opinion on it. How do you feel about a YouTuber that has a large piece of footage, maybe 10 minutes long, for example? So they make a video and they only show maybe 2 minutes of it. In that 2 minutes of the video, it appears that they've captured a UFO. Whereas, in actual fact, if they were to show the full video, they know that it would prove that it's not a UFO. How do you feel about YouTubers doing that, and how do you feel about that happening?
Well, for one part, I think they don't take it serious with the UFOs. They just want to generate clicks and money through advertisement and other shit. On the other side, it makes a bad light, it shows a bad light, shines a bad light on other channels that might have real footage, but the big ones, like you said, are most often the bigger channels, and the smaller ones with great footage get overshadowed by these bigger channels. And hmm, yeah, it's like they don't give a fuck about anything else than the clicks they generate and the views they generate.
How do you think that it affects the community as a whole? When they're doing this, how do you think it affects the smaller channels as a whole?
Well, it shines a bit light on them because all the big channels or even the videos that get preferred by the algorithm are sometimes these fake UFO or the footages of, as you said, where it's only a small portion of the video. And when the people see this, they say, "Oh no, it's just another fake." And when a real footage, a real video from someone gets preferred by the algorithm, they may think, "Well, it's just another clickbait video," you know?
So basically, you don't like it at all.
No, it's pretentious and also, like as I said, they're in just for the views and not for maybe to find out if there really is something out there or not. So they just jump on the hype train, so to say, to profit off of it.
What do you think subscribers to the likes of the channels that do this, what do you think they should do? Should they call out the owner of the channel? Should they just unsubscribe? Do you think there's a good action for people to take, or should they just ignore it and let it continue as though it's all genuine?
No, they should call out, but I'm thinking people that are subscribed to channels like that believe in the footage, like they're in their echo chamber, and they don't want to believe it's possibly not a real UFO. So the mob mentality you see on YouTube in the comment section from the followers of some YouTube channels, it seems almost like a religion sometimes, you know, like we had in the past with some. I
Almost,
won't I won't call the channel, but I think we all know who we're talking about.
so
Yeah.
it's almost like a cult mentality. Plus,
Yes.
as got
It's,
mentioned in the last stream, some people aren't in the UFO field for true UFO footage. Some of them are in it purely for the entertainment value. So,
yeah, I can understand that, but you should take it serious because even if it's most of the time it's not a UFO and it has some real basic explanation. But when you see like Navy pilots and pilots don't recognize stuff normal people recognize and frame it as a UFO, like the footage with the birds or their own F-14 that went over the horizon, and yeah, it's if people like that are in the government, you know, or in government agencies, what all kind of other people are there in other places in but let's don't go to that route.
right. Okay, well, Raf, thank you very much for popping on and giving me your opinion. It's always a good opinion. I really appreciate it, mate. Um, and just thank you again for coming on. Thank you for being one of my mods as well. I always appreciate that.
Thanks for
And
having me.
I guess I'll smell you later, mate.
Yeah, smell you later.
See you soon.
See ya.
Hey, Jax, how the hell are you, mate?
Hey Q, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Very
Awesome.
pleased to have you on. Very pleased
Oh,
to have you
thank
on.
you for having me.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, mate. Right, before we get going with the one big question, introduce yourself to everybody watching.
I'm excuse me. Hi, my name is Jax. I have a YouTube channel called Paranormal Underworld. I am a paranormal investigator where I talk about all aspects of the paranormal. I like to teach, and I also do investigations.
And when you do investigations as well, you're not like some of these charlatans who charge millions of pounds, slight exaggeration on the amount of money, but you're not somebody who charges for your services, are you?
No, my biggest reward is to help people, and that's I don't charge my services at all, and that's how it should be.
That's something that I actually think is good, and I really respect you for that because it proves that you're not in it to make money. You're in it to prove that there is possibly something there. You know
Hmm.
what you think. So I love that.
Thank you.
Right. So let's get on with the question. Right. So we've all seen videos on YouTube where a YouTuber will show, and just as an example for this, I know it also applies to your community, the more, when I say paranormal, I'm going to say the ghost community, and I know I shouldn't say it like that, but that's what I've said. So it also happens in that community. But the question, so I keep the question the same with yourself and everybody else, is how do you feel personally about YouTubers that would, in this case of the question, show a small piece of footage from a larger piece of footage that they have? And the reason they're showing the small piece of footage is to say, oh, look, it's a UFO. When in actual fact, they know damn well that if they show the full piece of footage, it proves it's not a UFO. How do you feel about YouTubers that do that in the community?
Personally, I think it's wrong because it's giving other people a bad name. Um, it's putting out false information. I mean, if you're all about the truth, um, that's what you should stick to instead of trying to prove something that it's like a fake. So basically, what it is, I mean, there's a saying. I mean, I've always believed that UFOs and ghosts. I mean, it doesn't just this particular question doesn't just pertain to UFOs,
Yeah.
and I know that it's UFOs is in it, so that's what it's geared to. But this can happen in the ghost field, so to speak. But I think it's all. Oh, sorry. I think it's all been all connected. Um, and you know that. Um, there's a saying: when in doubt, throw it out. Instead of trying to take a little piece of footage and throwing it up there and say, "Oh, look what I got! I got a UFO, or I got a ghost, or whatever." I mean, you want to try to keep it simple, but at the same time, you have to be able to put the footage out there with basically what I'm trying to say is you can't put just footage out there of something happening and then that's it. Because not something happens all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Do you think that the people who show a snippet of the actual footage that they've got, knowing that if they were to show the full footage, for example, um, let's say somebody shows a ghost on their ghost hunt,
Mm-hmm.
but in actual fact, they know that if they were to show the full piece of footage, it would be, say, a reflection of somebody else in their team that you're actually looking at. So they know in their own mind that this piece of footage that they're putting out is a ghost, but not really. It's actually
Right.
it's a crap piece of footage, to be perfectly honest. But that 5 seconds or 20 seconds, for a moment, it looks like it could be a ghost, and they put it out and say, "Oh, look at this ghost we caught on camera." You know, I would say they're being they're lying. They're lying to their viewers. They're lying to their community. They're damaging their community because at some point, somebody like yourself will say, "Hold on a second, that's Fred who's on your team." And surely that just damages their credibility, but also damages the community.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like that person would be, in my eyes, would be a hoaxer, a faker. Um, that, just an example, that actually happened not too long ago. I was on an investigation. There was there, plenty other people that were at the same location. It was a public investigation. There was like 25 people there. And I'm walking down this hallway and I'm hearing this rattling. Well, I started walking towards it, camera going, come up to this window, and the window pane was moving from the wind. Another investigator came in behind me, and after I left that area, came in behind me, started talking as if like, "Can you make that noise again if you're really here with me?" And it would start rattling. Well, that person was told that I had already debunked it, but that particular person took that piece out where my friend had told him that I already debunked it and put it up on his channel as evidence. So therefore, in my eyes, that person who I was starting to gain respect for lost all the respect that I had for him because they're putting up stuff that was told it was debunked and it's still up on his channel as evidence that he captured some type of communication from a spirit.
And like you've just said, you lost all respect for them. And that's exactly how I feel for all the channels that do exactly this, but mostly in the UFO community, as that is my bigger interest of the two things.
Right.
So, what would you say to viewers that have seen this going on channels? Should they continue to watch their videos? Should they call them out over the piece of footage when it's proved to be crap?
I mean, you can try to call them out. I mean, even if that channel disappears, there's going to be another one right behind it. So it's going to be an ongoing battle. So that's the real question, isn't it? Do you just let it go?
Do we let it slide, or do we keep fighting the battle? My opinion is we keep fighting the battle and we call all the crap out.
Yes. I agree with that.
Right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up your opinion on the whole topic. So, thank you very much again, Jax, for coming on. I will be putting links to your channel in the description down below this.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome, mate, and thank you as well for being one of my awesome mods. I always appreciate you guys, and mods don't normally get mentioned for their good hard work at times when they're modding for people's channels. So thank you for that as well.
You're welcome.
Right, well, as always, Jax, I'll smell you later, and I'll catch up with you soon.
All right. Take care, Q.
See you soon, mate.
Bye.
Hey, it's Q, and I would like to welcome onto the stream a most welcome guest. One or two of you might actually recognize him. It's Kyle, Ufo Proof. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, how you doing, Steve? Q, how you doing, Q? Doing good, buddy?
I'm doing good, mate. How the hell are you?
Oh, great, always, as always, man. It's good to talk to you again, brother.
It's a great honour to have you on. I've been looking forward to it for just so long. I was so sad you weren't able to make the last one.
Yes, me too. Well, I'm glad I'm able to get on here now with you and you know and answer your questions. Hopefully, you'll like the answer and we can keep this going. But we'll see. Hope your questions aren't too bad.
Well, it's not going to be bad questions. In actual fact, it's going to be one question. You see, with the UFO community at the moment, there's a big issue a big issue in my mind, as I talked in the last one about fake CGI stuff, which is really getting on me back and really annoying me. But this one, I want to talk about a different topic. And this topic is, how do you feel personally about when a UFO YouTuber puts out a video where they have obviously seen the whole video, but to make their video, they only use a small segment of it? Personally, I think it's deceptive, but I'd like to know your opinion on what you think of a YouTuber using a video but only showing a very small segment of it instead of showing the whole story. How do you feel about that?
Depending on the context of the video, I usually don't like it. I like to see the entire video as much as I can. When someone puts out a video and they only show a small section of it, then it's really up in the air on what it is, if it's actually a UFO, because you can go and film a plane from a certain vantage point and have so much of it and where it looks like a UFO, but as it flies past, you realize it's an airplane, or where it starts coming, you realize it's an airplane, but you cut those the beginning and the end out, and you only see the part where it looks like a TR-3B. It's really easy to fool people, and I think that's something in the UFO community that we need to stay away from. We need to watch out for, and try to stop people from sharing videos like that, because they are deceptive, and it really does fool people. It's hard to prove it's anything else when you only have so much of the video, when you only have, you want to know the whole context of the video before you just go out, and people can't make the right decisions on it. So it's I personally, I don't like it. I don't see the reason why you can't put the entire video up. Why can't you show the beginning and the end? I do understand that sometimes videos are simply too long, or there's stuff in the video that people don't want you to see. Maybe it's someone's face, family members. Maybe it's you can see their home address. You can see their mailbox with their address on it. There's a number of different reasons why some videos would have something cut out. So I understand that for the most part. I don't like it. I like to see as much of the UFO as I can, so I'm able to draw a proper conclusion on what we're looking at.
Yeah, see, I agree. If the video that they're recording is showing something that's personal, whether it be like a home address or family or a child that they don't want to show, something like that, I completely understand them cutting that out. What I'm kind of getting at, to be perfectly honest, is where you have a piece of footage, no matter what it is, where there's no details given away, but where the YouTuber has specifically only shown certain segments of the video, because if they were to show the whole video, it would show that it's not a UFO, that it's a friggin' plane, or it's a balloon, or it's smog gas,
Yeah,
whatever. It's more of that kind of video that I'm having a go at right at the moment, because there's been in the past, and I've actually already done a video on my channel years ago, where the second biggest YouTubers, they did a video and they were talking about could this plane from the 1950s been showing anti-gravity, but in actual fact they showed 30 seconds of a 20-minute video. And on my video of it, I showed the full 20-minute video, and it was a fucking X-13, which was a vertical takeoff plane. They said it was super top secret, and yet when you watch the whole footage properly, at the end of it, it was shown in front of the frigging Pentagon, in front of probably hundreds of thousands of people in pure daylight, taken off. You know, it was a test plane. It was the X-13 Vertijet. But it's that kind of video I'm talking about at the moment. The ones where a YouTuber will only show the segment that they want people to see. Do you think they're just being bad people by doing it?
I think that I think they're probably reaching for views, and they're like, well, hey, this looks good from here. We can say this, we can say that. It's like they're purposely trying to be deceptive. If they're cutting out certain sections of a video that would identify the craft. If you're doing that, then I mean, you're it's just as bad as making a hoax video. And literally, that's what it is if you're trying to claim that it's a UFO, an unidentified flying object, if you're trying to make that claim, and you know for a fact that if you were to show the whole video, it would prove that it is nothing more than a plane, that is a hoax. There's no way around it. You're purposely trying to fool people into thinking it's something when it's not. There's been plenty of times where I've been filming UFOs and had planes come in while I was filming, and the planes themselves, just from the position, looked like a UFO, looked like something completely out of this world, and and I could have easily just been like, oh, I could have just cut it off right there. But I'm like, no, it's clearly it's just a plane, and I always try to point that out, because people will see it in the video and think, oh, that's a badass UFO, and because I stopped filming or whatever, they're like, they don't see that it's an actual plane. So I always make it a point to be like, that is in fact a plane. I know it looks strange, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, that actually happened when I was doing years back. And it looked like a flying triangle. However, I'm like, it was just a plane. I'm like, you can't really see how it looks. I'm like, I could see it from my eyes, but on camera, it looked like because I was doing it through night vision, it just looked like a a flying triangle. But I'm like, no, it's a plane. You just can't make it out. But I had to point it out to everybody because everyone online in the comment section were saying, oh, what is that? Blah blah blah. I'm like, no, it's just a plane. You know, I could have gone along with it and been like, no, it's a fucking UFO. Sure, it would have looked great too. But that's no good for the UFO community. Stuff like that's just it. Literally, that is a hoax. You're trying to lie to people on purpose, and we can't have that.
Yeah, see, I totally agree. It is disingenuous. By the way, your audio went a bit craps up there for
I
one
got some
moment,
wind.
but you're back.
Yeah, I got some wind coming through. It might be cutting me out.
What do you think viewers of channels that actually see that kind of thing happening, when they realise that they're watching parts of videos where if they were to watch the whole video, they would know instantly that it's not a genuine piece of UFO footage? What do you think viewers of channels that being put through this, what do you think the viewers should do?
I think that they should point it out. However, I also believe that a lot of viewers want to be lied to. I think a lot of the viewers they appreciate the entertainment value of it, and they probably know that it's fake, but it makes them feel better to believe that is a craft from Nibiru carrying a bunch of draconians. I mean, it probably makes them just as happy to believe that, and so they're like, you know what? I'll lie to myself. Let me pretend that it's real and argue it to the death that that's what it is, because it makes me feel good. And even if it is, just a regular plane, sometimes it's better to make someone feel like, oh, well, you know what? It's actually a fake airplane. It's a UFO disguised as an airplane. See, you're just part of the fucking sheep who just fall for this crap, And obviously the UFOs can have Southwest written on the tail of their UFO. Duh. Okay? I know plenty of UFOs that say American Airlines on it. Duh.
So, what I need to do is get some genuine UFO footage and get a couple of chickens, spray them blue, and show the alien
the blue
occupants, the blue chicken people, for entertainment purposes to get the views.
That is fucking entertaining. I would watch that.
I don't know whether the animal rights people would quite agree with us, but yeah, fuck them.
It's worth it in the end.
One thing I've always loved about your videos is, I mean, you've done some classics in your time. You one about the pyramids not being made out of solid blocks, about them being built on mountains. The one about the little statue, which when you turn on side looks like a little fella in the rocket ship.
Right.
You've done some classics like that.
And not only that, but let me point out, Q, and I just realized this. I don't know how many other people know this, but I'm going to put a video out on my channel as well. But I did correctly predict what the government could do to detect UFOs, and that is in the UFO report. And I'm sure you know about this one. I put out a video 2 years ago saying that the government could use AI to take all the UFO information that they have from MUFON, from ATIP, from everything, and use AI to aggregate all that information and make a predictive model on where UFOs could be seen. And that is actually in the UFO report. I'm telling you word for word, what I said that they should do is in the fucking report, man. I totally nailed that 100%, dude.
And when you first spoke about this, when that bullshit 9-page report came out, I actually passed a comment saying, do you not remember, Kyle? It must have been probably closer to 3 years ago that
Yeah.
we were talking to a group of people. I think some of them were from Caltech, and there was between 9 or 11 of them that were coming on your channel as a group, and you talked to them at the time about doing some sort of an algorithmic program that could predict where
Yeah.
a UFO event would happen. Now, at the time, I was very kind of skeptical, to be perfectly honest, because my opinion was, well, when it's an algorithm, it's still basically a guess. But you were steadfast on, but it can be helpful. It can be a useful tool. And
Yeah.
they were talking about, if I remember rightly, it was Ben, Scottish guy, who was going to help you do this. And then something happened, and the Caltech team got raided and got taken out of the community.
It was MIT.
Oh, was it MIT? Was it?
It was
My bad.
MIT, and it was one of the fellows named Jericho, and they were attempting to do what I was saying, and their team got shut down. You know, and you gotta understand, at MIT, there's a lot of government officials there because DARPA like works out at MIT and stuff like that, and they have a lot of people. There's a lot of classified stuff that goes down there, and the government came in and shut them down trying to do this shit. And I'm like, it's just funny because they go and they shut them down, and they turned around and did the same fucking thing, dude. The same thing that I was telling that they should fucking do. The government went and fucking did, but they shut the MIT team down from doing it. Like, that's it, you know, that's just funny, you know. But I'm just saying, I absolutely predicted that and said that would work, and they absolutely did it. You know, and it's not like, I'm not saying that they, you know, heard me and decided to go do it or something like that. I'm just saying that, you know, just thinking about it, that would have been the best way to go. So obviously they were thinking the same thing because they eventually they did it. You know? And there's another thing also. I had also made an educated guess on UFOs. I put out a video a little while back talking about quantum UFOs. And if you see any of Lou Elizondo's videos, he's doing some interviews, and he's talking about how UFOs have more to do with quantum mechanics than they do with general relativity. And it's funny because I had said the same thing like 2 years ago about them, you know, all the different quantum effects that UFOs exhibit, and they're saying the same thing now. Like Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo and all those guys, you know, and Hal Puthoff and Eric Davies and stuff. They're all saying the same thing that I was saying 2 years ago about the quantum effects of UFOs. And now, so that's another thing that I was absolutely fucking right about, and I made a prediction on that, and that turned out to be, well, at least they're saying that that's where they're going with it. You know, is the quantum effects of UFOs, and I was pointing out the similarities and pointing out how the advanced string theory, the predictive model that the equations that they use for advanced string theory are the same equations that they use for writing code for computers. You know, and it's like a simulation code, and that and they actually, when you plug that into a computer, it actually makes these designs they show what the like the equations make these designs actually look like UFOs. It's like it's crazy how it works, and it comes out in a they they render it in a visual, or like a visual model of the equations, and it comes out looking like flying saucers, and it's something that I started putting two and two together, and that's why I made this video called quantum UFOs. And if you guys get a chance, go and check it out. And it's really all the stuff that I had said about back then 2 years ago, they're saying about UFOs right now, so I think I was ahead of the game on that one as well.
You might well have been, mate. Well, anyway, getting back onto topic, because I don't want to talk about Lou Alexandro. I think I'll probably do a live stream talking about that fucking idiot soon. But that's enough said about that. I mean, in the video that I've already got done, I do mention Lou once or twice. Yeah, well, Lou.
If that is his real name.
Well, Lou over here means toilet, and yeah, I think he is a piece of shit. But anyway, we'll get into that at a later date when I talk about that fucking idiot. But getting back to, if a channel puts up only part of a video to try and prove that they're showing UFO footage when in actual fact the full video proves that it isn't a UFO, your opinion, your final thought is?
I don't like it. I think that I think that if a channel does that, they're trying to be deceptive, and they're trying to fool people, which is no good for the UFO community. If a channel is in fact doing that, yeah, I no good.
And also last time when I wasn't able to get you on for the last stream where I was talking about fake CGI UFOs, just a quickie on what are your thoughts on them before you go?
I hate it. Honestly, unless you're doing it for reconstruction videos, unless you're doing it to, in your if you're on purpose, if you're coming out and saying, I'm doing this just to show, what the incident looked like, just a reconstruction of the incident, that's okay. That's fine. But if you're bringing it out as this is a real legitimate UFO video, that's bullshit.
I expected everything you've just said from you, to be perfectly honest. Right, well, Cal, thank you so much for coming on. It's been my honour, as always. Love
Hey, no problem. You too, brother.
No
Love
problem,
you,
mate. Right, well, let's move on to whoever comes next. Hey, and now we have Mikey. How the hell are you, mate?
Going pretty good. What's up, Q? How you been, mate?
I'm doing fine. We're going through a little bit of a heat wave over here in sunny old England. Well, it's not often you hear me say that, but yeah, we're going through a little bit of a heat wave. I believe you've got one over there yourselves.
Yeah, it's humid as hell over here.
Right.
What y'all been up to?
Well, I just want to know the answer to one question off you.
What's that?
How do you feel about YouTubers that come across a piece of footage, however minutes long it is, and they use a very small segment of that footage to try and prove that the footage is of a UFO when they know damn well that the footage is not a UFO, and if they were to show the full footage, the footage itself proves that it's not a UFO. How do you feel about YouTubers that do that?
That's like 98% showing that it's people showing fake stuff, and they just don't want. They would show the whole thing. Or get down to the point what at the end of the video is going to be, and they don't want people to see. And pretty much what it goes down to, it's all fake footage. That's what I believe anyway. If they show the whole footage, what would be at the end of it? You know, compared to that 2% of people want to show the whole footage. You know, it's all false, I think. People want to hoax, putting up, you know, bullshit on freaking YouTube. Show the whole thing, and everybody will see at the end what it really is.
So it's not your cup of tea then?
It's not my cup of tea.
How do you feel about the subscribers to these channels? How do you think they should, what should they do about it? Should they stay subscribed? Should they call the YouTuber out? Should they
They all
unsubscribe?
should get together and demand to see the full footage. Get together and tell them they want to see the whole thing. If you can't see the full footage, why put it up? Don't put up unless you can put up full footage. We got enough hoaxes going around and making the UFO community look bad. If you can't put the whole footage up, don't put it up at all. That's how it should be. Everybody sticks by that and make YouTube put all that fake shit down.
I love that attitude, mate. I love that attitude, and I love the way you're so freaking direct about it as well.
Yeah, I'm like, that's how it should be. It's right directly to the point. Like, everybody in the UFO community need to come together and like, hey, put up the full footage. No bits and pieces, and demand, you know, remove all that fake stuff, you know, for us people that are really trying to get it done and want to get the, you know, the message out and showing real footage, and now like get rid of all the bull crap, you know, everybody trying to filter through to find the real stuff, you know, and making the rest of us look bad.
Great attitude, mate. Great attitude. Right, well, Mikey, I know you didn't have long, and I really appreciate you popping on. For people, Mikey doesn't have a YouTube channel at the moment, although he is in the middle of sorting things out. Oh, well, I'll say no more than that. But anyway, when you see Mike Johnson in the chat, this is the gentleman you're talking to. He's direct, he says what he thinks, and he's like everybody else. He can get it wrong, but when he speaks, maybe you should friggin' listen to him. Thank you so much for popping on, Mikey, and I appreciate, as always, your directness. I'll smell you later, mate.
All right, my brother. Take it easy, man.
Love you, Mikey.
Love you too, bro.
Laters. Hey, hey. Well, let me just redo that. Put the camera on me. Hey, hey. And now I have on somebody you will all know, or probably do know. It's Timmy.
It's Kiwi.
How the hell are you, Tim?
I'm doing just fine, Q. How are you?
I'm surviving. It's always
That's good.
It's always good
Yeah.
to at least be surviving.
Right, exactly.
Before we go any further, so I don't forget, please introduce yourself.
Well, most of you know who I am, but for those of you who don't, I'm Tim, or Ufo Man, on YouTube. I also am on Facebook and Twitter and all over social media. So if you want to join the journey and dig deeper into the phenomenon, check us out.
Phenomenon.
Yep.
Right. So, Tim, I have one main question for you. How do you feel about a YouTuber who has a full piece of film, that might be a few minutes or longer, but rather than show the full footage, that shows that what they are showing is not a UFO? How do you feel about it when they take a small segment of that full piece of footage and then put it out and imply that it is a UFO?
I think they're full of shit. I personally believe that they should be removed from YouTube and eliminate their channel. Because if they're doing that on a constant basis, then all they're doing is eroding the credibility of real researchers on YouTube within the ufology community and other channels, other genres as well, like paranormal and such. But what I'm going to say to you is they do not need to be on YouTube, because when new people come on to YouTube and they're looking at the UFO subject or they're looking at the paranormal subject and they see a piece of footage that implies, oh, this is a ghost, or oh, this is a flying saucer, and it's only 15 seconds long, how can you really make a conclusive decision as to what it really is? In my opinion, it's inconclusive, and it's eroding the credibility of all real researchers out there. And it makes us look like hacks when new people come on who have a critical, analytical mind, who see that, wait a minute, it's only 15 seconds. So they're trying to hide something, and they realize that it's a bunch of BS. So it makes us look like hacks. And I fight that every day. I fight that every day with people, because it's like, oh my God, 15 to maybe 50 seconds. I've seen them 50 seconds long. And whenever I see them now, I just click off. I don't even watch them, because it's a bunch of baloney, usually, and it's not worth my time or effort. The ones that are really long, in some cases, for the most part, you can prove what they are. Usually, unless they're a dot in the sky. And there's a lot of videos out there where people are putting up, oh, I saw a UFO, but it was a dot. Personally, to me, you can't tell what it is. No frame of reference, too far away, too small, could be anything, could be a star, could be a drone, could be a satellite, could be anything. So going back to the question, sorry, we're getting off track. The 15-second videos or the 20-second videos, do I think they should be on YouTube? No. Do I think those channels should be allowed to continue with implying that these are real UAPs, UFOs? No. I think they should be removed. I think that people should speak out in mass against these channels with small clips and try to get their view count dropped, because the only way they're going to stop it is when they're not making any revenue, when they're not making any views, getting any subs. So we need to do that. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, see, I understand what you're saying about the short clips. Unfortunately, if, for instance, I was outside right now and I'm sitting in my garden, I'm having a beer, and I suddenly see something in the sky, and I pull my phone out, or I happen to have a camcorder on me, and I start recording it. By the time I get it out and start me recording, the object might only be on screen for 15 or 20 seconds. I don't have a problem with that, even though more often than not, as you say, it's quite often not really that useful a piece of footage. But
right, that's what I really meant.
If it's still legitimate footage, whether it's a misidentification, because I don't have an issue with misidentifications.
No,
that is
I don't
always
either.
going to happen. But what I do have an issue is with people being disingenuous with what they're showing. When somebody knows that their footage is not a UFO, but shows that little piece that looks like a UFO and says, ooh, could this be a UFO? Some people say, and all of that crap. That's
Yeah.
what I have the issue with. And
I
and
yeah, I
you also think that subscribers should make a stand against channels when they realize that they are doing that kind of thing with the lengths of their footage.
right, exactly. Yep, make a statement. I used to think a couple of days ago that I would address the issue privately, and I told this to you, Q, that I would go to them privately in an email. But really, if they're doing this to the public, and I've thought about this for a while, it should be made public in the comment section right up front. I mean, there's no need necessarily to swear at them, but in regards to telling them how it is, you really need to bring them to the reality that what they're doing isn't helping. And I personally agree with that. Now, I have addressed one channel with what they're doing. I'm not going to mention who they are, but I did address one channel with what they're doing with short clips as being not necessarily helpful to the community. And they took the piss out of me because I did it publicly. So I don't really patronize that channel anymore because I felt that they were unable to own up to what they were doing. So, you know, you have to take the risks with the confrontation, but do the confrontation in such a way that you get your message out to the other viewers as well as to the actual content creator. So I do agree with you, Q. And I have to backtrack. In regards to the 15 seconds of fame in regards to legitimate footage, I don't have an issue with that. But it's very difficult to discern between legitimate footage and faked. Mm-hmm. And like I've always said, there are no experts in the field. There just aren't. And most video footage is inconclusive. I don't care how good it is. You know? So I guess that's where I'm going to leave it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Tim. As always, I appreciate your opinion. And thank you again for popping on and answering the question.
Yeah, you're welcome, Q.
It's always my pleasure to have you on, Tim.
Peace out, everybody.
And as always, Tim, I'll smell you later, mate.
Alrighty, Q. Smell you later.
Catch you in a bit, mate. Hey. So, I have one of my most adorable friends back for the second time. And, well, I'll let him introduce himself. What more do I have to do? He speaks eloquently.
Cyrus. Oh, thank you. How you doing?
Not so bad, mate. How's things over there with you?
I'm good. I'm down here in my basement shop with all my remote control planes and drones that I need to fix because I put it into a tree.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
It's fixable. I just got to rebuild the wing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
At least it's repairable. At least I got it back. Because you don't always get them back.
Did you have to climb up the tree to get it, or were you throwing stones at it to knock it out the tree?
I paid a crew $100 to go up there with to rappel up into the tree and bring it down.
Holy crap!
But considering I spent a lot more than that on that plane, it was worth it to get it back.
That's understandable. I still remember the video you did where you were building. Well, you weren't building it, but you were showing the plane in like your living room, and it was, what was the wingspan on that motherfucker?
That's the same one.
Oh, was that the same one? The big massive thing?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you need a wagon just to get that anywhere the size of the friggin' thing. Well, but
Yeah,
this
it's a
isn't
12-foot
like
wingspan.
yeah, 12-foot wingspan. Holy crap, that's not a model plane. I could sit on that and you could fly me over to America to come
Probably.
visit you. Right, let's get on with it. Right, so last time we talked about CGI, and I loved your opinion. This time, slightly different question. This time, the question is, how do you feel about YouTubers showing a small snippet of a piece of footage that they have when they know, and they're showing the small snippet to prove that it's a UFO, when in actual fact they know that if they were to show the full piece of footage, it shows that it's not a UFO. How do you feel about channels that do that?
Well, they're being deceptive. That's deception. I don't see a big difference between that. And the other thing that they'll do is they'll get CGI artwork from people that just make CGI UFO videos for fun, not to actually fool people, but to for the purpose of art. And they put a watermark on their video, so you know that a digital artist created that footage. And now what they're doing is they'll take that watermark and cut it out, and then they'll show the footage like it's real. So I don't see the difference between that and channels that, yeah, they'll show a clip of footage, but then you don't see the final 10 seconds when it resolves its. I'm just using this as an example. Resolves itself. Oh, it's a bird. Oh, it's a plane. It's just something mundane. It's not just in that particular few seconds of footage. It looks strange, but then if you keep watching it, it's not so strange. Yeah, that's deceptive.
Right, well, that was pretty much straight to the point. How do you
Yeah.
feel about how do you feel about the subscribers to these channels when they see this going on? As I mentioned with Kyle, I called out one of the big YouTubers years ago and showed the full footage where they'd only shown a very small amount.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think the subscribers to these channels should do? Should they let it pass? Should they call them out? What should they do?
Well, probably call them out. I mean, depending on the premise that it's being presented as, they could be. It's possible to well, we can show you this little clip, but look at the whole thing. Or, they're just if they're just doing that to get clicks for ad revenue, you should call them out. I would. I got banned from a lot of channels for calling stuff out. I mean, it's been a while since that's happened, but I used to, and I was never mean about it. I was like, it's this interesting footage, but what about this X, Y, and Z thing that you didn't mention? Oh, they just ban you. You're just gone.
I've had the same issue in my past. I've been called a troll by multiple channels,
Mm-hmm.
when in actual fact, I only use the one account. I don't troll, but I will give an opinion, and usually a well-structured opinion. And the channels that didn't like it, I've kicked my arse. I mean, for Christ's sake, I got banned from one channel for saying, I agree, trolls are a terrible thing. Can we get Ken the Astronomer on and ask his opinion?
Yeah,
You
I think
probably know.
I got banned from one for being like, well, it's interesting looking footage, but I think it's birds. Nah, gone, banned. Not allowed to say it's birds. It's a flock of birds.
That's absolutely disgraceful that somebody doing a channel like this, a UFO kind of channel,
Mm-hmm.
would not be willing to even listen to a simple comment like that. That's absolutely friggin' disgraceful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never rude. I don't insult people, but if I think it's birds, I say I think it's birds. Yeah, you can either disagree with it, or argue it. But you know,
Well, the
if
thing
you
is,
ban me for saying something like that, I'm like, yeah, you're pulling something.
yeah, well, you're always very well spoken and you're very respectful. You're not like me. I'm a nasty cat. You are nice to people. I can be a ruthless son of a bee, you know,
Yeah,
but that's just incredible. So to sum everything up, you think people that do that with their footage are being disingenuous?
absolutely. Yep, that's deception. They're trying to fool people for clicks.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Cyrus. As always, I love your point of view because it's often slightly different to mine, although I can always relate to what you're saying, like with your last comments over CGI, how you actually enjoy them. And I do myself, but as you pointed out, it depends on the context that they're being used. But that's what I want when I'm doing these videos. I need people with a good eye who can talk properly.
Yep. Thank you.
So thanks again for coming on. And as I've said to a couple of the guys, also thank you for being one of my mods. Mods don't get appreciated enough on channels, and they do need telling that they're doing a great job. So
All
thank you
right.
for coming on, Cyrus. And as always, mate, I'll smell you later.
All right. Later on, man.
Smell you later, bro.
Later on.
So, like I said at the very beginning of the stream, I'm sure one or two people will get triggered by this. But at the end of the day, it's my channel, it's my opinion, so it's up to me what I put up. Others are going to love this. It's classic Q. It's how I feel. If nothing else, I'm always direct and honest. I'm going to see something I consider to be bullshit. I will call it out, even with my little channel. I hope you enjoy this video. Oh, you're gonna freaking love it. Thank you so much to everybody who is still able to be here. And if you're watching this afterwards, thank you very much for watching this. Don't forget, like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. And if you want to pass comment on it, even if it's a comment that you don't like it, give me a reason why. Just don't be an idiot who, okay, you suck. Because your comments will disappear and you'll get booted from your channel permanently. Just give me a good critical comment if that's the way you feel. Enjoy the video, guys. Laters. Love you. Hey, it's Q. So let's get right into this. I want to make this perfectly clear that the gentleman's footage that I am using now, I'm just using this footage this way to prove the point. It's something that a lot of YouTube channels, particularly the big one, Titler with his Suck Your Team, have done in the past where they have lied, they have been deceptive with the likes of the Can the Astronomer video where it was them using a voice changer. But anyway, I've just recently done a live stream with friends of mine that I have known for years. We all have different opinions over UFOs, and we discuss them, we discuss cases, and we try and get deeper into the facts. Not for entertainment purposes, but to see if we can actually find something, because the group have different backgrounds and we all have very, very different opinions on the subject. Right. The question I asked those guys was, how do you feel about YouTubers using a piece of footage where they know damn well that the piece of footage will prove that this is not a UFO, but instead they will just use a small segment of the footage and say, oh, it's a UFO. Oh, look at the anti-gravity circles and shit like that, when they know damn well that if somebody is to show the full footage, it proves it's not. So let's get into this gentleman's footage. The gentleman who filmed this, Dave Falch, I will be putting a link down to him, as it will be with all of the actual videos that I talk about, because I'm going to talk about a couple of people in this community at the moment, and some of them I don't like, but you'll understand why at the end of this. Just to make it perfectly clear, if you don't like this video, piss off now. Just do one. Couldn't be asked. Right, so here we go. Dave Falch was never intending this footage to be used this way, but this is how the likes of his footage and this particular piece of footage will be abused by some of the idiots in the community. And you will do, won't you, Titler? But anyway, let's get on with this. This is all legitimate flare footage. There is no CGI in this footage. But people will say, oh, look at the circles going around it. That's proof of anti-gravity. I mean, you saw the birds are flying by there. Well, yeah, that's because birds fucking fly. Jesus. Some people will say, well, some people say this is proof of interdimensional travel. This is proof of... Yeah, well, for all those people, piss off. Get a fucking life. So, here's the footage. I am only showing you part of it, but that is the whole point of this video. People who only show you a small segment of a video. As I will show you the full video at the end, which shows you exactly what we're looking at. Right? So, I mean, to me, it's a disc-shaped craft. This could be a UFO. These rings around it could be some sort of proof of interdimensional shit. It's not, but it could be. But this will be abused. Right. So, let's show it again. Now, some people would say, well, this can be shown as entertainment purposes. Yeah, it can be. But if you're coming onto YouTube and looking for entertaining UFO footage, then you're not really the type of UFO person that I want to talk to. I want to know what the actual phenomena is, because I do fully believe that aliens exist in the universe. I'm just stuck on, have they been here? And we only need one video to be true. My last video was talking about CGI fakery, which I also despise. But anyway, that was a different video. So, you've seen the snippet that I've been showing. What do you think right at the moment? I'm sure there's some of you that are thinking, that is awesome footage. And it is awesome footage. It's just not a UFO. Now, if you notice during this, we have flickers going around this UFO, and a couple of them from time to time almost look as they're protruding. I'm sure I'm getting that word wrong, but fuck it. But they're protruding. I am getting that wrong, aren't I? Anyway, they're sticking out from the UFO. Now, the funny thing is, if you were to look at a certain gentleman's footage who came into the community quite recently, over the last couple of years, and I'll talk more about him in a minute. He showed a piece of footage of a UFO, and the UFO actually turns on its side, almost like, let's just say this is a plane, for example, and this was to suddenly try and pull a hard left. It would turn on its side and it would pull a number of G's as it does a hard left. Well, one of his pieces of footage actually has little flickers of light coming out here and here on his piece of footage. But it's obviously not a UFO. Or at least that's what's implied by the way it's shown. And also, the 3 pieces of footage of that gentleman, and I'm using that word extremely loosely, all his footage is snippets of full footage. But I'll get back into that in a minute when I'm talking about that friggin' idiot. So here we go. Dave's footage once again. Interdimensional anti-gravity circles. Friggin' hell, these birds flying by are probably a phenomenon that are coming off the spacecraft. Yeah. But anybody that thinks that, yeah, just do one and stop watching the video. Because if you don't like what I've said now, you're not going to like what I have to say shortly. Look at the spacecraft flying away. I mean, I'm not sure what the speed of this thing is right at this moment in time, but I'm sure it's going pretty fast. So, in the community, I'm just going to keep looping this while I continue to talk. In the community recently, we've had a new piece of footage. I suppose you call it the splashdown footage. And when it came down, you know, we have this craft going across the screen that ends up splashing down into the water. The reason it's referred to as that is because the person talking when this happens goes, "Oh, splashdown!" Well, everybody that thinks that object splashes down in the water, what you need to do is, if you wear glasses, put them on, clean them, and look at what is showing in the video. Because the object doesn't splash down in water. It goes over the horizon. And as it goes over the horizon, for a split second, you see it reappear. The reason for that is because you're looking over a water scenery. And water, although if it's not moving, can be flat. We're looking over a sea scenery, and there's a thing called waves and swell. And as it ducks behind the horizon, for a split second you see it almost reappear again. It looks like it pops up more than it does, but that's because of camera glare. That's just a thing that happens with cameras when you're looking at a bright object. So it doesn't pop back up suddenly, it just appears to pop back up, but it certainly doesn't splash down as the video implies. That fucking idiot Corbell, Jeremy Corbell, also did a pyramid video. Well, his pyramid video is also bullshit, because if you look at it, you can see the friggin' lights on it flashing. You know the way planes have lights on top and bottom? so that in the dark they can be identified, so that you can tell whether you're above them or below them or behind them. You know the way they have lights like that? Well, you can see the lights on the video. And I may actually at some point do a video on exactly how to fake that, where I can make house lights look like a friggin' triangular UFO. I can even make them look like a friggin' Christmas tree. And I shit you not. It's so simple, so easy. It's extremely deceptive, but people can do this. Right. So anyway, let me get on to the other fucktard that I want to talk about. Lou Elizondo, or however you say his fucking name. I really don't care. But he's a friggin' idiot as well. He recently came into the community with these 3 awesome pieces of footage. Now, his background jobs, which give him the godlike notoriety in the community, which he doesn't deserve, because he just regurgitates the same shit over and over and over again. His original job, he was working for the American government, and he was an intelligence guy to do with threats to American airspace. Okay, an important job. He then moved from there to ATIP. And if you don't know what ATIP is, it's the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Now, that is a huge title. And he was a director as well. So he wasn't just some noob in there. This guy will have had a budget to investigate the likes of footage that he was able to get his hands on. It's a pity he did such a piss poor job of it. Now, 2 out of his 3 videos, one of them is really hard to tell what it is. It's probably some sort of a craft. On all of these pieces of footage, everything you see, you will literally see 12 to 40 odd seconds of a video where the actual video was a hell of a lot longer, but we don't get to see that, unfortunately. But one of his pieces of footage, like I said before, looked like this, except the craft turns on its side. Partway through its flight or whatever the hell it's doing. And as I say, let me pause this. Even on his footage, you see these bumps here. You will realise what those little bumps are soon. And as you're watching this in infrared, you'll notice that there's all flickering around it. This object, which I will show, does not look like this when you turn the flare off, which I will show shortly. And I fully believe that if the flare had been turned off with the footage that come from Lou, you would see exactly what the object was. Now, one of his pieces of footage as well also showed I suppose we can only describe it as a dot, a little round-ish ball moving over water. And again, this is going out there as UFO footage. Lou hasn't even got the balls when he's being interviewed. He's been asked the question, do you think it's a UFO? And it's at that point, although he's come into the community and is willing to say, oh yes, I know this, that and the other. I was in charge of these programs. These were my job titles and descriptions and this, that and the other. He's not prepared to say the answer, yes or no, when it comes to UFOs. And the way he gets out of answering that question, he sounds so much like a fucking politician. He says, well, I don't want to say anything that goes against my non-disclosure. Well, if you don't want to say anything about your non-disclosure, why are you talking in the first fucking place? Don't come on, give us snippets of information and make out that you know all this information and then say, oh no, my NDA, I don't want to break it. Not because I would be breaking what I signed with the American government, but the fact that I don't want to break my trust in the American public. Okay, so you don't want to break your trust with the American public, but you're going to come on UFO channels, television channels, news channels, radio stations, and you're going to talk about how you want the American government to put this information out themselves. Why don't you fucking just tell us what you know, instead of beating around the frigging bush? Now, as I say, Lou's footage, a lot of it, I think, is bullshit. One of them is, in my opinion, the one that looks like this, is definitely a plane. The one that is the dot going over the ocean, I believe, it's a frigging bird. Now, people, when I first mentioned this, when it first came out, and that's, well, over a year ago, people said, no, Q, you're wrong. Well, I might be wrong. I'm not a fucking professional. Anybody that says they're a professional in the UFO community, tell them to fuck off, because they're talking shit. There ain't no professionals in this community. There's only people guessing and assuming and trying to find the truth, like myself and so many others. So, I believe that one's a bird. And the argument against it is it's moving too fast over the water. No, it's not moving too fast. In actual fact, it's moving the speed that a bird could move while flying over water. The reason it looks as though it's moving so fast, if you look on the actual footage of that video, it says to the right hand side how far away the plane is from this object, and the object is estimated to be between 1 meter and 1.5 meters. That can easily be the wingspan of a plane, of a bird, I should say. The plane is moving in the opposite direction. The plane is a fighter plane, so it's not doing 20 miles an hour. It's travelling at a decent speed. And the reason the object, what I'm calling a bird, appears to be moving so fast is because of the point of perspective from the camera that was recording it, and nothing more. It's a friggin' bird. And Lou, with the money and the backing that he had, I'm surprised nobody in his awesome team of scientists ever said, do you know what, that could be a bird. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. The other thing I'd like to say about Lou is he always goes on about how pilots don't get it wrong. Well, I'm sorry, Lou, but you are wrong when you say that. Lou did an interview on the History Channel, links will be below, where right before he actually says this, there was a gentleman on, a fighter pilot for the US Army, and all respect to the gentleman. You know, he's done a fine job in his career. He says that he sees these UFOs on a daily basis. Well, I'm sure he does see strange things while he's out doing whatever he was doing on his missions. But Lou uses the point of, oh, pilots. It costs the American government millions to train these guys. I mean, just the equipment alone that they're using costs a frigging arm and a leg. And I'm not arguing that point. But they are human and they do make mistakes. Because right before Lou makes that statement on that video, the pilot, the lieutenant who is being interviewed, and I'm not going to call that gentleman out. If you want to see that footage, you can go and actually look at it yourself on the History Channel. As I say, all links will be below. That gentleman is looking at a piece of loose footage, the one that looks like this, and says something that's interesting is the fact that there's no smoke trails. Well, look at this footage. Where's the smoke trail? There isn't one. Now, just by that pilot saying that it's interesting that there's no smoke trails implies that this is something unusual. But when I show you this full video and you see this object in daylight without the flare turned on, guess what? You can't even see the smoke trails there. People always seem to assume that if it's a plane, we're going to see smoke trails. That is incorrect. And for people to say, well, if there's no smoke trails, I know the pilot doesn't say this, but if people say, like Hitler and suck your team, if people like him say, oh, well, if it was a plane, it should have smoke trails, tell them to do one, because they're talking through their arse. In actual fact, not all planes have smoke trails. Only a few of them do. And that's fact. Right, so let me carry on playing this footage while I keep looping it for you just to try and keep you entertained, because I'm sure you all want to know what you're actually looking at. Another thing about Lou, when he was at A-Tip, they had a thing that they used to use as some, if you like, some basic rules, things to look at. They called them the 5 observables. These were things where when you look at an object, if they show these or any of these 5 things, they've shown that they were of interest. Lou was on an interview with the Washington Post, and again, I will link this down below, where he's talking to a lady, and he goes through the 5 observables, and this is, I am paraphrasing, but this is what Lou says. The first of it, observable is hypersonic velocity. The second observable is hypersonic velocity. The third observable is cloaking and low observability. Freaking hell, I can't get my words out right at the moment. I guess I'm too excited doing this video. And the fourth one is transmedium travel. Transmedium travel, by the way, is when an object is able to move from, let's say, flying through the air to flying through the water, or even flying through space with no perceivable effect on it. So, yes, in that interview, he mentioned 4 things, and one of them he mentioned twice. So in actual fact, he mentioned 3 things. In actual fact, the 5 observabilities are anti-gravity lift. The second is sudden and instantaneous acceleration. The third is hypersonic velocities without signatures. The fourth is low observability or cloaking. And the fifth is transmedium travel. Now, I would expect somebody who was a director of A-Tip to know that list of 5 things like the back of their frigging hand. And when he's on an interview with the Washington Post, where he only names 4 things, and he says one of them twice. That, in my mind, is not acceptable. Yes, we can all get tongue twisted, like I have while making this video, but he should have made it perfectly clear. So what more can I say? Well, Lou, in my country, the word loo means toilet. And that's where the shit that comes out of your mouth should be. I am not a fan of yours. And until you come out and give an opinion, which you haven't been able to so far, then I'm afraid I'm going to stay that way for quite some time. Right, so this footage, I'm now going to show you exactly what we're looking at. Now it even says in the top left of the screen, it's an F-18 flying away. Oh, and look, we can see fins coming back up off the plane, which do actually show up in the footage, just like in one of Lou's pieces of footage. You know, considering this gentleman is using a high-grade flare camera, but the military-grade ones, I would expect more from them. I mean, in Lou's 60-minute interview, he mentions that pilots are trained to recognize things with their bare eyes from 25 miles away. So why the fuck can't he recognize a bird from less than 4 miles away? It's absolutely disgraceful. And for anybody who is a fan of him, maybe you should re-look into his footage. Maybe you should, when you're watching videos on YouTube where they only show a small snippet, which was the whole point of this video, instead of showing the full video, maybe you should look into where the full original footage came from. I did a debunk years ago where the particular channel talked about could this be anti-gravity, proof of anti-gravity propulsion on the super top secret plane. In actual fact, the super top secret plane, as I show at the end of the video, gets shown in front of tens of thousands of people in broad daylight in front of the friggin' Pentagon. And no, it wasn't using anti-gravity technology. But the brothers that put that out, they did change their ways big time. And they deserve to be the biggest YouTube channel when it comes to the two big boys, instead of Titler and his fake, oh, let's talk to Ken the Astronomer, where he's using a fake voice changer. Screw that guy. I mean, at least with the brothers, they were prepared to come into a lion's den where they did come multiple times and got ripped apart for what they were putting out at the time. But at least they had the balls to do it and to face the music, and they did change their ways. Whereas Titler, he hasn't got the balls to come in to the lion's den and speak to people like myself and others like me. But maybe one day Titler's balls will drop, just like his 13-year-old friggin' audience. Right? Well, I'm bored with listening to my own voice now. So, I'll smell you later. Love. Q.